This is Community Unity Now. My name is Trudy Leong. I'm the administrator of the Rogers Park Chamber of Commerce, and this is Bill Morton. He's the president of the Rogers Park Chamber of Commerce as well as candidate for 49th Ward Alderman in the city of Chicago. Our very, very special guest today is Sister Jeannine Gramick, who is the co-founder of New Ways Ministry. Welcome, Sister Jeannine.
Welcome.
Thank you. It's very nice to be here with you. Thank you for this opportunity.
Thank you. Well, let's first start off with you describing to us the mission statement of New Ways Ministry.
Well, New Ways Ministry is a Catholic organization, and we were founded 45 years ago. It's a national Catholic organization that reaches out to bring about reconciliation and justice for LGBT people within the Catholic Church, but within the wider society. And we do this primarily through education. If I can digress a little, I first was involved with LGBT people way back in 1971 when I was at the University of Pennsylvania, and I was a graduate student, and I met members of the community there. And I began to realize from my associations with LGBT people that the problems that they were facing had to do with the environment, had to do with others, not necessarily themselves. They were having problems because of others. And so I teamed up with Father Nugent to begin this New Ways Ministry. And the primary thrust of New Ways Ministry is to educate, because we believe if we educate people to get rid of their fears and give them correct information, we feel that a lot of problems will disappear. We hope that, I mean, as an educator, I have seen that in other areas. So we began New Ways Ministry, and that's our purpose. And most recently, in the last couple of years, with the rise, of racism that is coming to the fore, I believe it's been there, but it's becoming more manifest. We have at our board meetings a revised mission statement, or the mission statement that I just gave to you, but also to make it conscious for ourselves and others that we need to become anti-racist in our internal operations in the organization, as well as in our programming and our publications. And we need to support research and resources that will empower people to see that there is intersectionality. It's not just gender issues and sexuality, but these issues interplay with in other areas. And of course, we have always wanted to foster holiness and wholesomeness within the LGBT community, and so we have spiritual programs and resources. So that's basically our mission statement.
So in the version 2 of your mission statement, the addition to be anti-racist, for our viewers, could you please explain a little bit more about what it is to be anti-racist?
What it means to be anti-racist is really, I think, to see all individuals as equals, that no one is, because of one's, particularly if we're anti-racist, to be anti-racist, it doesn't matter what color one's skin is. It doesn't. The basic message is that we are all equal under God, and that's what we try to promote.
When you're examining your own operations to make it more anti-racist. Can you give us an example of how it was before and how when you put that lens on the operation to make it more anti-racist, how it became afterwards?
Good. Well, take, for example, our board. We do have people of color on our board, but we don't think we have sufficient numbers. So we are making aggressive campaign to solicit board members who would be people of color. All right, so that's one example. Another example is we've just published, I'd like to, this commercial announcement, we've just published this little book called A Home for All, a Catholic call for LGBT non-discrimination. And in this little booklet, we have testimonies from people, and we were very careful that the testimonies wouldn't just be from people who were white, that we have people of color represented in this booklet. Let's see, what would another example would be, we have a daily blog. And while in the past we did have bloggers who were people of color, we are making particular, more aggressive outreach to have more people write on the blog who are people of color. So they're just a few examples of what we're trying to do now to, to help us be conscious of all God's people.
Yeah, that's wonderful that you mentioned the blog, because we did read your one of your most recent blogs, and it's published on July 5th. There was a Latino gentleman that was talking about applying his ability to speak Spanish to help reach out to, with education toward the diocese as you are doing, so that he's able to reach out into the Spanish-speaking community more. So is that like an example of what you're talking about?
That would be an example. And we have another blogger, a woman who's Latina, who works with the Hispanic ministry in the Diocese of Los Angeles. So there's another example. But yes, that would be what I'm talking about.
Awesome.
So you're based out of the Washington, D.C. Diocese. You have
That's
a Los
right.
Angeles Diocese. Where else in the United States are you working?
Oh, well, we're all over. In terms of doing workshops, we've probably given workshops in over 3/4 of the diocese in the United States. So, I don't know that there's any state where we have not been, but we don't have offices in each of these places. It's that we have given programs, or we are in contact with people there who, like our bloggers or others who can affect programs. And now with Zoom, we do lots on Zoom. In fact, we recently did a program for a college in the Philippines.
Oh.
So, yeah, and that's the advantage of Zoom, that we can reach all over the world.
Right. And since Pope Francis is more welcoming toward the LGBTQ community than his predecessors, and we mentioned before, you and I in another interview that we actually he ended the proceedings against you. So now that you have more of the support of the Pope behind you, how has this changed your work? Because you also mentioned that there are still the conservatives there, but
Sure.
but you reached like 3/4 of the diocese. Are you able to reach more than the 3/4 now because of Pope Francis's stance toward the LGBTQ people?
Well, I would say that because of Pope Francis's knowledge of our work and praise of our work, that we have the people who were more hesitant, who would probably have welcomed us but were hesitant to do so, now have overcome their hesitation. Let me give you an example. We recently got an award from the Association of U.S. Catholic Priests. Now, I'm not saying that they're a conservative group, but it definitely came. The award came because of the praise of Pope Francis. So I don't think we would have gotten this award without that. So that's just one example. Let's see if I could think of other examples. Well, we've been invited to give some programs for some schools that who knows for sure, but I would think that prior to Pope Francis's approbation, that invitation may not have come. So things like that.
Yeah, that's very helpful to get into the schools. Any indication of how young the students are? Because the younger that you're able to reach the students and open their minds to being open to others, the more success you have. So how old are the students? What kind of schools are they?
Well, actually, we have given the workshops for the teachers and the faculty, the faculty, the staff, and administrators, but they have been mostly with high schools. But the recent one was with younger students, grammar school and into junior high school. So it runs the gamut.
These younger students, were you able to do programs for them after you got the support from Pope Francis?
No, we haven't done programs for the students. We do programs for teachers,
right.
The educators to
right.
educate them so that they are in their classroom will give guidance, proper guidance. So.
Right. I guess then my question was supposed to be, were you able to work with the educators of these younger students after you got the Pope Francis's support or even before?
Oh, let me see. It was around the same time.
Oh.
So, yeah.
I guess at that time the tide was turning a bit toward for you.
Yes, that's right. That's right.
Well, we hear that there's a lot of violence against the LGBT community. Is New Way's ministry able to help address this violence toward the LGBTQ community?
Well, again, this is a new booklet we just put out about a month ago. This is to address the problem of violence. Now, we don't mention the Equality Act per se, but we are educating people so that they will go out and talk to their legislators and to end this discrimination in employment, in housing, public accommodations. I mean, the numbers of teachers that have been fired, if you just look on our website, and these are just Catholic teachers who have been fired from their jobs. We have over a couple hundred just in the last few years, and they're only the ones that have been made public. There have been lots of firings. So our task is to get people mobilized so that they will go to their bishops and say, look, you need to support the Equality Act. They will go to their legislators and say, look, you need to support the Equality Act, because there is so much discrimination that should not be toward LGBT people. So we feel that this is a good tool for discussion that will get people energized and mobilized to do something.
Have you have people started actually going to their legislators and to the bishops because of the book?
Well, I haven't. People are just getting the book now, so I haven't they haven't had time yet
Mm-hmm.
to absorb it and then to go out and do something. They're just um, the book is just getting into their hands.
Okay.
And interesting, I mean, we're talking here in the United States, but I had an email from someone in England, and she saw the book, and she is getting copies for her parish and for her diocese,
Mm-hmm.
so that they will have, they will push their Catholic community to do something about to lessen the discrimination in England. So it's not just a problem here in the U.S. It's, as we know, it's a worldwide problem,
Mm-hmm.
and I don't know what we're going to do about Africa, but anyway.
So
um,
what are some of the challenges? You're trying to push the Equality Act and have elected
mhm.
officials with legislation, and what
Yeah.
are some challenges, and who are some of your allies?
Well, the challenges I believe are people's uh, I I don't know, want to blame and say they're unwilling to listen, but the challenge is to um, find a way to approach people who are hesitant or um, anti-LGBT, and to have a discussion. That is a great challenge. Um, our allies are many, and that there are hundreds of LGBT friendly parishes, Catholic parishes across the country, and those are our primary allies. Um, but I wish I had a good answer about facing the challenges. This is something I pray about, because we have had people who have picketed our programs, not many, but those who come, and it's very difficult, to have um, a conversation with people who don't want to listen. So I guess the biggest challenge is to figure out, and I haven't figured it out yet, how to have meaningful dialogue with people who don't want to dialogue. It's we often say we are a bridge ministry, you know, but um, people have to meet you on that bridge. You if you go the whole way across the bridge and the people are still there and not wanting to come across at least halfway on that bridge, it's very difficult. So I wish I had a better answer for you, but the
So
challenges are there.
so you've got the pro LGBTQ base. You got it.
Yes,
It's solid. Um, and so then there are people who are against it. And what about the
yes,
people? What
and
about the people in
that's
the middle?
typical in our country, isn't it?
Hmm.
Yeah.
What about the people in the middle who aren't against it, aren't for it? How do you have that conversation?
Well, they're the people that we want to reach, and they're the people that we feel we can reach in the parishes, because our ministry is mostly directed to the Catholic community, but this can be done anywhere, in any faith community or in any neighborhood. It doesn't have to be a faith community, but we will work with those LGBT friendly parishes, and we have encouraged them to have discussions in their parish, and we've seen that grow. We've seen people who were kind of on the fence, you might say, who now understand. And a great part of that understanding comes because in the parishes we have LGBT people telling their stories of their personal experience to other people, other parishioners. And that seems to move the heart when people tell their own story. I've seen that time and time again. The conversion happens when people tell their stories. So it's not a matter of convincing someone intellectually. I think that will come, but I think we first touch the heart. And when the heart is touched, then the mind is more willing to be open. So that's what I have seen occurring.
Is it that once the heart is touched, it's more relatable to a lot of those people that don't want to cross the bridge, because what those stories are talking about might actually be somebody similar to somebody in their own family or circle of friends. Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. And let me just give you one example of the parents. About 20 years ago, we give lots of retreats for parents who have LGBT children. And maybe 20 years ago or so, the parents who came to our workshops and retreats had a similar refrain. And their refrain was, my lesbian daughter or my gay son or my transgender daughter, they don't go to church anymore. And they were so sad because these parents are good Catholics who go to church in their parish. But the conversation has changed over the last since that, in that last 20 years. So now the questions that we hear from parents are, why isn't the church blessing my son and his partner? My heterosexual children can be married. Why can't my son, who is gay, marry his partner in the church? Now they can have a civil marriage, but not yet in the church. So to me, that shows the power of the personal experience. When LGBT people share their experience with their family and their friends, then people's hearts are moved and they begin to ask different questions than they did 20 years ago. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So,
yes. You also mentioned that there's research and resources that New Ways Ministry is supporting, which empower the pastoral ministers and educators to advance an intersectional understanding of gender identity and sexuality. Could you give us a few examples of this research and resources that New Ways Ministry is supporting?
Well, again, I'm going to
okay.
to our newest resource, mm-hmm. and that's this little booklet mm-hmm. On a home for all, and it points out in here how around 1/3 of the LGBT people have faced discrimination that's compounded by gender, race, religion, class, all these different issues. So, for example, and here we read that healthcare providers, for example, aren't properly trained, and so conversion. Some of them will offer conversion therapy, and that's medically not feasible. It's not even the medical profession doesn't advise it, and yet some medical professionals who are not trained well will use that conversion therapy on lesbian and gay people and try to change them to be heterosexual, which it's not possible to do that. Education, for example, we have laws in some states, and now the religious right is trying to make it more in other states to prevent youth from learning about LGBT issues in schools. So that's something that we need to be aware of and try to eliminate that kind of preventing people from knowing about LGBT issues. I mentioned employment, how so many LGBT people are fired. So all of these different kinds of examples how in adoption, for example, and foster care, LGBT people are discriminated against. So these are examples that we provide resources for in this book. So
thank you so much, Sister Jeannine Gramick. Thank you for educating us and opening a lot of people's eyes and being our guest here on D-Tycoon Community Unity Now.
Thank you so much. And is there, if there is some way that people want to reach you with their stories, could you give us a quick contact information if people want to reach you with their stories so that they could share?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear what you said.
We got to wrap. Yeah, sorry about
Contact
that. Yeah.
information?
Yeah.
Well, you can call newwaysministry.org on the...
Okay. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Sister Jeannine Gramick. And this is Community Unity Now. Thank you so much for watching.